people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the mother relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
What's up, guys? This is Jessica, the Cobra Camara, your current WBA Gold Lightweight Champion. As some of you may know, I won my title on April 27th after flying all the way to South Korea and facing former two-time world champion and undefeated fighter, Choi. As per contract, I followed all procedure, made weights, all my medicals and documentation was in order. And it was agreed that I would be paid my full fight purse in cash after my fight. After a hard-fought 10 rounds, I was given a split decision victory and was informed by my coach after the fight that they didn't have my fight money. He said my manager, Brian Cohen, was sorting everything out with the promoters and Choi's manager, which is also her father. He shortly told us that...
And so the short version is that for a fight that required Jessica Camara to travel halfway around the world to face South Korea's Choi, they stiffed her on a dough. They didn't pay her after she won the fight.
They didn't have the money.
I saw that fight. I actually picked Choi to win, and I was thoroughly impressed with Jessica Camara because she didn't leave the judges with much of a choice. She was better than Choi in every facet, every department. She won the fight.
She just didn't get paid.
And I doubt that Choi and her father, also manager, feel any pressure to cough up Jessica's dough because they're halfway around the world. She's based out of Canada.
There is South Korea.
Choi doesn't even fight all that often to begin with. I read somewhere that the WBA provisionally suspended her for non-payment, something like that. And that would affect her a lot more if Choi were more active. But like I said, she doesn't fight that often anyway.
And even if the WBA suspended her and decided not to recognize her in their ranks, she could always try with another sanctioning body.
One of the alphabet organizations suspending a fighter, quote unquote, may suspend the fighter from their ranks, but not from obtaining a boxing license. I'm fairly confident she can still get a boxing license in her neck of the woods.
Are there no safeguards to prevent this from happening?
There are, in a manner of speaking. When it comes to other fights, bigger ones with bigger promotional outfits, it's not uncommon that the money to the fighters be put in escrow so that the fighters themselves have assurances that the money exists, that the money is there, and it will be paid out.
What's a sex crow?
It's escrow, an escrow account where the money is placed up until a certain date and then it is dispersed.
It's paid out.
A lot of big-time boxing outfits do that for big-time money, whereas this money, it likely wasn't very much to begin with, so much that you would need to put it in escrow, but if they did, that would have provided reassurances to Jessica that she's going to get paid. She didn't. So when a fighter goes into camp in preparation for a fight, there are expenses.
The fight purse covers those expenses.
Put young Jessica in a compromising position. Thankfully, she does have a fight coming up.
Next month, September 14th, the same day as the Canelo versus Berlanga fight,
a defense of her WBA gold title against Bonnie Hunter. For those not already aware, Jessica Camara competes in the lightweight division. She is WBA gold champion, where Katie Taylor still is the full champion at this weight, though it's conceivable that Katie's not coming back down. So at some point, she'll vacate that WBA title. And so long as Jessica stays fighting and stays winning, she's in a pole position to become this division's next WBA champion.
Full champion.
That fight is set to go down in Montreal, Canada.
Is that next to Canada?
It is. So let's hope that the September 14th fight pays out what the Choi fight didn't. So long as Jessica Camara can stay gold champion and eventually be elevated to full champion, bigger paydays await for unification matches, like maybe a unification with Rhiannon Dixon, WBO champion, Beatrice Ferreira, IBF champion. On the matchroom side of things, on the boxer side of things, there is Caroline Dubois,
WBC interim champion who could soon become full champion.
Those fighters are with major promotional outfits that box on major platforms. Thus, Jessica wouldn't have to worry about non-payment.
Those shenanigans.
And what is a very unfortunate situation for what was a signature victory, a signature win, because I saw that fight with Hyun-Mi Choi, and Jessica Kika looked great. In men's super middleweight news, David Benavidez's promoter, Samson Lukowicz, says he's set for a December return.
Is it going to be on the undercard of Gervonta Davis's next fight?
Unless it's a really strong name and a big name opponent, somebody at 175, I don't see how he could headline his own show, his own pay-per-view. David Benavidez may have one more fight before this year is out, according to his promoter, Samson Lukowicz. The former super middleweight title holder and current light heavyweight contender should have a date in December. We will secure the opponent, but we need to secure the venue and the date with the PBC, Lukowicz told Boxing Scene.
Why are you waiting on the PBC?
If it's about getting a fight with somebody good, and making some money, you can always go to Turkey. You can box on the undercard of one of Turkey's shows for boxing on the undercard of one of Gervonta's shows.
Why are you so sure he's going to end up on Gervonta's undercard?
Because he just boxed on Gervonta's undercard as the co-main event to the main event, and I think Gervonta Davis will be returning before the year is out. I think he'll be returning once as well. So if he's coming back and David's coming back, they may end up on the same show together.
Again.
Benavidez is dealing with 2 injured hands and a cut coming into the bout, Lukowicz said. I remember Sergio Maravilla Martinez when he fought with broken ribs. Fighters like that, he doesn't want to lose the opportunity, and he took a chance. And Benavidez took a big chance, the promoter said. Why? Because the win over Vajdik earned Benavidez the WBC's interim world title at light heavyweight and a shot at the winner of the upcoming undisputed championship fight between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol.
Wait a minute. If Benavidez has got 2 injured hands after the Vajdik fight, then how was he supposed to fight Canelo in September?
If the damage that he took, the injuries he sustained in the Vajdik fight, have sidelined him until the very end of this year, then how was he supposed to fight Canelo in September?
It's a two-way street.
He probably wouldn't have been able to make it to a September fight with Canelo, but it's not like Canelo was asking for one either, so it's a two-way street.
But if he couldn't make it, then why are people giving Canelo a hard time?
It's because it's very bad optics for Canelo to demand $200 million for a fight with David. That's a lot of money. Given that Benavidez couldn't get his long-awaited, long-earned shot at super middleweight champion Canelo Alvarez, picking up his interim belt at 175 allowed Benavidez more options and leverage to hopefully ensure that he could land the fight at light heavyweight. Benavidez ultimately chose to remain at 175 rather than return to 168 for a Canelo bout that seemed unlikely at any point in the near future. He was sacrificing to make 168. And then, without Canelo, it doesn't mean anything.
Lukowicz said.
But I said it first. That was my interpretation of why he decided to stay at light heavyweight moving forward. It was already taking so much out of him already, continuing to make 168, staying at that weight, that if it's not for Canelo, he's not going to do it. And so Beterbiev versus Bivol is scheduled for October 12th. Lukowicz said it makes sense to keep Benavidez active rather than wait on the sidelines. We're not stopping the career of David Benavidez, he said. You're making good money. Why should we wait for the big one when we can continue working on himself and defending the interim title? Hopefully we can make the fight, and we'll see. He will be the mandatory anyway for whoever wins.
Who's he going to keep busy with while he waits?
I don't think it's going to be David Morrell. I don't think it's going to be Cuba's own David Morrell, who just made his light heavyweight debut opposite the ring veteran fighter Radovoje Kalajdzic.
Why not?
Because if the rationale is you just want David to get out there one more time, you just want him to stay busy, you wouldn't put him in a perilous fight like that one. That's not a big money fight, and there's a chance he could lose. We all know that Samson Lukowicz, by now, he doesn't like to gamble.
He's not going to roll the dice.
Least of all for a keep busy fight, a maintenance fight. So the question is, who would David fight in December? If he does come back, who's out there?
Well, I'm thinking that his next fight is going to be an undercard fight, so you have to think of an undercard kind of opponent. Maybe Jesse Hart.
Maybe Sullivan Barrera. Maybe Radovanje Kalajdzic. He just fought David Morrell.
Maybe.
But I have a strong feeling that David's next fight is going to be on the undercard of Gervante's next fight. That's how that's going to break down. Because staying on the PBC side of things as opposed to fighting on a Turkey Al-Sheikh undercard, a Riyadh Season undercard, they're going to match you tough. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah, the money's good. The money's probably good, but there are risks. And David Benavidez, Samson Lukowicz, those two are not about taking risks. Staying on the PBC side further enables them to match David as soft as humanly possible.
And after looking the way that he looked with Alexander Vajdik, they might want to take their foot off the gas and pump the brakes because he didn't look like no monster. After the fight, Juan Manuel Marquez said he would prefer for David to go back down to 168, that he likes how he looks at 168, but David can't make it anymore.
After the fight, Jim Lampley, who initially said he thinks David stands a chance at heavyweight to become a champion, he has since pulled back on that. Now what he's saying is that David would be the underdog against the winner of Better Be versus Bivol. Seems he changed his mind.
Changed his tune based on how he looked with Vajdik. So I anticipate that his next fight could be an even lighter touch than that one was. That they don't want to match him too tough, too hard, if he's got two busted hands.
Thought he was a monster.
And this is all intended to be a stay busy fight while he waits for the winner of Better Be versus Bivol to emerge. But you guys know what I think. I don't think he's going to fight the winner of that fight. I think he'll continue to make defenses of the interim title,
hoping that at some point the full one becomes vacant.
It's all a smokescreen, and I see through it.
You know, American fighters are great. They talk great. But when it comes down to the business to fight, they don't have that much dog in them. Do you understand? And Gerald Anderson, great athlete, you know, amazing. But when I heard he was fighting a Bacoli, I was like, why would he do that? Why would he do that? Even Eddie Hearn told him, why? Do you understand? And he believed so much that he'll beat Bacoli. But what he don't realize about Bacoli is an African warrior. He's hungry. Do you understand? Bacoli don't fight for himself. He fights for his country. You know, when you fight somebody who fights for his country, you are in trouble.
It's a roundabout way of saying that America's gone soft. And I feel so inclined to agree with what Derek is saying, that the Americans, they're good for the talk, and that's all well and good. But when it's time to deliver, when it's all on the line, American fighters seem to be faltering left and right. You think about the contribution that Turkey Al-Sheikh has made to the sport of boxing the last few months, the last calendar year, the fights that he's been making that did involve American fighters. Wilder versus Parker.
The American lost.
Wilder versus Chang.
The American lost.
Emo versus Hamza.
The American lost.
More recent fight with Jared Anderson and Martin Bacoli.
The American lost.
The Americans lose. When push comes to shove, and it's time to stop talking and start fighting, make good on your word, it seems like many of the American fighters can't where they used to. What changed? We're not even medaling in the Olympics at the same frequency that we used to.
We didn't win any medals in boxing this year. We haven't won any medals in boxing in the male category, the female category.
I think the last Olympic gold medalist America produced was Andre Vard, and that was how many Olympic cycles ago?
Wow.
I suspect that vanity may have something to do with it. America does have a rich lineage, a rich culture within the sport of boxing of many great fighters in the past, many great fighters, so much so that today's fighters may have it in their head that they're just better than their competition for the simple fact that they're American. They feel special and unique. They all do, but if they all feel special and unique, that means they're not.
You think the same thing that the guy next to you thinks that the guy next to him thinks. You all think the same thing.
Same shit. All got it in your head that you're the next Mayweather, when you're not.
You're not gonna be.
And that if you're not being loud and being obnoxious and talking a bunch of shit, you're soft. How many times have we seen Adrian Bronor do that just to get out there under the hot lights and lose?
Shut up.
You can't deliver, you're not as good as you think, and you're not good Just because. Just because you're you or just because you're American?
Vanity.
At least a part of it. That when you have a history as rich as America's history with the sport of boxing, you might get it in your head that you're cut from the same cloth as some other fighters. Those fighters you're thinking of in the past, they had to come up through much harsher conditions than today's fighters used to. Fought in and fought for a longer duration of time. 15 rounders against animals and beasts. Today's wannabe boxers / business moguls and real estate agents don't really have it all riding on boxing the way that yesterday's fighters used to, because boxing is a poor man's sport. It always has been. A poor man's way out.
Today's fighters seem distracted and entitled.
Trying to do and be so many different things while boxing, it takes their focus off the boxing. They're boxing.
America's gone soft.
We don't dominate the amateur scene the same way that we used to. We don't even dominate the pro scene. And what divisions are in it in the same abundancy? And what divisions are populated with American fighters? That's where you see the most problems, the most prima donnas. Think about Teofimo. He was supposed to fight in September. He was supposed to headline the show with Michaela Mayer versus Sandy Ryan and Xander Zayas, Bruce Carrington. He's supposed to be part of that show. And for whatever reason, now he's not fighting.
Prima donna.
Always has a problem. Always has a fucking problem all the time.
Ones that aren't prima donnas are clowns. Court jesters like Ryan.
Ryan Garcia is a clown. I don't care how much money he's made or how popular he is, because his popularity primarily was achieved on social media, not in the boxing ring. In the boxing ring, he's not very good.
That's why he had to cheat.
Blow the weight, come in 3 pounds over, use an anabolic steroid, mouthing off to fighters that would fold him up like a beach chair if they could get their hands on him. Fighters like Caleb Plant, fighters like Terrence Crawford.
Well, he literally hides behind his security. You can't make it up. That kid's a clown.
It's what passes for a popular boxer in today's American boxing scene. I do think there's a social commentary somewhere in there about how boxing is the best microcosm for life, and American life in America is changing, and we're not the same people that we used to be. Not as innovative, not as tough, durable, disciplined.
Shows up in our athletes.
Our boxers that are not as good as they used to be. Can't even produce a halfway decent heavyweight anymore.
It's what Jared Anderson was supposed to be, and for a while, I believed it until he started to unravel under the pressures that are tantamount to an occupational hazard for every boxer from everywhere. I could see the kid couldn't hack it, and that's why I picked Martin Boccoli to beat him.
So when Derek Chisora, veteran fighter Derek Chisora, says in a roundabout way that America's gone soft, I agree. I believe him.
Definitely.
It's the entitlement, the arrogance, the feeling that you're better than what's out there, better just because.
No, you're not. I got it from the mud.
You and everybody else, genius. Boxing is a poor man's sport. Your story is not so unique.
You come from poverty, so do the vast majority of boxers.
Is that supposed to give you some kind of an edge? I agree with Derek. I think Derek is right. Good for the talk, but when it's time to deliver,
American boxers just not what they used to be.